again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, bringing you 3 unique perspectives from varying skill range. I am the pit master of this episode, Andrew. With me, the one who tries to get into the pit and love someone, Kid Keith.
Oh, bow with the bow, the bang, diggy, diggy.
And the one who describes being married to me as a pit of misery, Liz.
Hey guys.
And this week was a Keith pick, so you know what that means. We played a roguelike, and this is Into the Pit by Null Pointer Games. Into the Pit is a fast-paced retro FPS roguelite where you play a member of a lore-hunting mystic family who is summoned to a cursed village where the villagers have ended up being swallowed into a mystical pit, and it is your job to go down there, free the villagers, and grow your power. Going around, Keith, was this a game or a pass for you?
Well, I just learned a lot about this game that I had no idea about. That's pretty
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
That's a cool storyline. I think it's a really fun game. I really enjoyed it. If you're looking for a roguelike and you're kind of tired of your same old, you just want to try something different, it's tons of fun. It's definitely not going to be for everyone, but it's a game for me.
So when Keith picked this, he said, I think Liz is going to like this. And guess what? I did. I thought it was a lot.
That build-up.
I know.
I'm not always wrong. What can I say?
I thought it was really fun and relaxing, and then I'd get too relaxed, and then the jump scares would happen. So I had so much fun with it, and I thought it was really addicting. And being a noob, I didn't progress as far as I would have liked, but even though I was kind of like stuck a little bit in these for like a couple of areas, I didn't get sick of it yet. So
I had a feeling this is the way it's going to go, because I'm going to give this a big old pass.
Well, you told me the ending was bad, so I get it.
There's a lot I didn't like about this game. I'm giving it I'm not going to give it a definite pass, because the only thing I think that what Into the Pit does well as a roguelite is that this is an easier roguelite and it's something smaller. So for me, I describe it as a weekend roguelite. So if you're someone who just doesn't want to invest, 40 to 100 hours into a game like Hades or Darkest Dungeon, or honestly, a lot of the roguelikes we play, this is a very simple game. So it's something you can play on the weekend and not have to commit a ton of time to. That's the only thing I think this game does well. Besides that, yeah, this is a pass.
Yeah, something I read online when I was looking at Metacritic, jumping the gun, is that a lot of people didn't find it challenging enough. So I understand like that perspective from you. As a noob, I did get a little bit challenged from it.
So getting to the story, as Keith apparently just learned. Well, this is another thing. Keith, did you know this was also supposed to be a Eldritch-inspired game, so kind of Lovecraftian? Did any of you guys get that vibe?
No.
Because they mentioned it in the beginning cinematic, but yeah, none of these creatures look like they're like Eldritch Cthulhu monsters.
Yeah, not a single tentacle monster in this game.
There's little floating eyes that have tentacles.
There were? Oh yeah, I guess. I thought they were just wings.
But anyway, you are, as I said, you are this lore hunting guy who comes from a family of other mystics, and your cousin goes missing, and you get some journals from her talking about this village and that things are going down south quick. So you are basically going there to find and save your cousin and save the village. I couldn't even figure out if you were an actual person. I always assumed you were some sort of golem because of your hands looked super cracked. Either that or this guy really needs some Jergens. Like, he has awful hands. And yeah, the story of this game is just, it's dumb. I know we always say, oh, the story is just a means to an end. Like, it's a roguelite. I'm not giving it to this game. Due to the fact that there's achievement to earn all the art journals and to learn the story. And the story is complete crap.
Oh, I guess you can read the journals. I never did, because I didn't care.
But so the game focuses on a story, but it does such a bad job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is I'm not going to complain about the story because I just didn't care. I was here for the gameplay, and that was what I did. But yeah, I'm not going to try and act like, ooh, yeah, the storyline was super cool. It was there. No, it was my means to an end. And I didn't even know that there was one. I knew there was villagers that were trapped inside this pit, and I had to go save them.
I got a bunch of the journals, but I felt like they were all the same. like I followed him into the pit and I didn't realize like who he really was, kind of thing. It was like the same stuff over and over again, but I mean, I collected like a third of them and I didn't get very far. So I hate when games like give you like an interesting story but then don't follow through with it. Like, make it boring. Also, this off topic, but I love the way that you say cousin.
Oh
You
my
always say
gosh. You
cousin.
always make fun of me for it.
Where's the T?
I don't know.
Cousin. Keith, how do you say cousin?
Cousin?
Cousins.
Yes, that little bitty T.
Say, I say it the way that it's spelled, I guess. I don't
Shut
know.
up. But I don't know if you guys got the vibe. I'm making it my mission to convince you guys to change this to a pass for you guys.
Okay.
I was just joking. But yeah, like the story for me, I was like kind of getting it. Like I was like, oh man, hopefully this is gonna be kind of interesting. As I said, there's an achievement to get all these journals. So I'm reading these journals, which by the way, none of the journals were that interesting. It's just your cousin constantly saying things of like, man, our grandfather really talked about demons. Wasn't that something? Like they were just so dumb. They were literally 2-sentence longs. And then the other quote unquote story moments you get, anytime you beat a boss, the main bad guy, the alderman, shows up and always says, oh, I controlled that demon weeks ago. He says like 2 lines and repeats them over and over again. And then when you get to the end, my God, the ending was just so anticlimactic. Your character's just like, time to go into the pit even deeper, and the credits roll. And it's just like, what the hell was that? Hated the story.
You know what I didn't like about that is I got to that point. Is it just brings you back to the last point where you fought the boss and then you have to do that again. Like you can't like beat that dungeon. So it didn't count towards a dungeon that I beat when I was trying to at least get, I think, 10 dungeons. So made me angry.
Wait, so you kill the boss.
Yep.
So why
No, I hugged him.
Why keep going into the pit afterward then? Is there like I
Oh,
don't get it.
wow.
Like at
That's what
least
you
if
mean.
it like picked you back up and like you started a new run or something and it was like a new game plus, then
Nope.
I'd be like, fine, okay. But no, it didn't do that.
Nope, it rolls credits. The end. And I was like, all right, that sucked.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't great,
for me,
I will admit.
That's my first big old negative with Into the Pit. This is the story. So moving on to gameplay. So gameplay, I do agree with you guys. I first was having fun. You know, this game, was really reminiscent of old school first-person shooters, Doom, Quake, fast pace, jumping around, whatnots. But my God, it got boring real quick. The enemies are so boring. I did not like the enemies. You either fight bitey boys or shooty boys. That's all they do. There is literally no deviation from them. They have different skins and different models, yes, but they do not do anything. And
See,
my God, I was bored.
I kind of like them. Like, there's my least favorite were the actual flying poison guys, and then when you go to the bogs, you have the rats. So I like that they were changing them when you went to different locations.
Yeah, the models, but they all had the same attack. They either bite you or they shoot you. That's it.
I mean, yes and no. There were different
Other forms of shooting and other forms of biting.
No,
Like,
I'm
there's
trying to-
nothing.
I don't
No,
say
you
like
can't win this argument.
No.
There's no support creatures.
No, what I'm saying, you're right. There are none, but there's like I guess elements to them or whatever. Like there are some that can't be hurt by poison or like other things like that. I'm not saying it's like okay, yes. I'm crowning it Game of the Year because I'm saying that there is more difference than you're giving it.
I'm just gonna heckle you guys this episode.
But yeah, I agree. It definitely gets boring after a while. It's not a game that you're going to sink 40 hours into. We already talked about that. So I think it's fine for what it is.
But what attacks are you looking for?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, Liz. So the main thing about Into the Pit, I've prepared.
You're fired
I
up.
know.
Jeez.
So the main thing about Into the Pit, so as I said, you're getting these villagers and you're bringing them back, and as you're growing the town, you are able to open new things. So there's a key master who grants you keys to go to different pits, but not really. So you combine these keys. So you have like your first one is a fortress. Your second key you get is like a poison bog, and then like a dock, and you can combine them. So it's a like fortress dock or fortress bog. And it's like, oh, cool. So I'm mixing them up. And the game even's like, oh man, it's going to like up the difficulty and change things around. No, it just combines kind of the two enemies, but it doesn't matter. They still just shoot or they bite. And it would be interesting if it was like, oh, there's some support creatures, like a creature that heals. And then if like, oh, the fortress creatures are extra, like I have a lot of health. So if you combine these two keys, they'll regenerate health and have like extra health or something like that. Like something to actually change the gameplay. But there is nothing. It does not change at all.
Did you think that like the spawning was different? So there were some levels that I went in and I was just blasted by like 20 people coming at me right away. And other ones I was able to be more strategic instead of just like funneling them in. Did you think that was varied enough for you? Or
Nope.
do you think that was okay?
So, because this is the thing too. When I first was playing it, I was like, cool, this is a procedurally generated dungeon. I'm going down, the layout's going to change, enemy positions are going to change. No, you'll actually quickly learn you're just playing the same setups. So I was learning where enemy spawns were. I was learning how the map is set
Yeah,
up.
that's
So
true.
I was able to just quickly go boom, 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 complete the run, next dungeon. So, and that's that's also what really turned me off. Because at first I was enjoying it, thinking it was procedure generated. And it's like, cool, this is going to really kind of change around. Nope.
Because there's one map in particular that I'm thinking of that there's like a poison outline, and the second you step forward, the enemies spawn along the left, and then
But you
So-
knew that once you first saw it.
Yeah, so I mean, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I there's not a lot of points I'm going to argue with you because again, I'm
Come
not.
on, I thought you guys loved this game. Come on, defend it.
Oh,
But then, I mean-
when did I say I loved it? I never said I did. You can find my words where I said I loved this game. Never.
I also think too that unlike a lot of roguelites, I kind of wish that the abilities you got more were random. So like you can pick between 3, but I felt like you're always kind of like I always had like one arm that was like poison or curse, and the other one would be something different. And then you're getting a lot of the same stuff. And I kind of wish it was more random. You can even buy runes that make it so that you're more likely to get like poison abilities and things like that. So do you wish that it was more random?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I felt like
My
I
God, yes.
kind of knew exactly like what I was good at after a couple runs. And so for me, and then you can also refresh them by using different I forget what mode it is, but you can refresh it so you can get like different options. But yeah, for me I was just like, it kind of took the fun out of it when it's like, well, I'm gonna do this and this and this because it works for me.
Yeah, so to kind of explain a little bit how the gameplay works to our listeners, I will say this is the thing that I think is good about Into the Pit. I guess gunplay. I mean, you don't really have guns; you have your hands, and you have like a spell in each one. And right at the beginning, you pick what kind of spell you're doing, and it describes them. Kind of a shotgun one, a short ranged one, a medium range spell, a long range spell. So you can kind of mix up your hands, but you only get to pick them once, right at the beginning of a dungeon run. Those are your weapons, and that is it. You will not change your weapons for the rest of the run. And for me, I thought the gunplay was good. It was solid. I had a lot of fun moving around, shooting enemies. I like the movement of everything. Great. But the negative is the weapons or the spells are boring. Like at first I thought they were cool, but there's like 3 different long range ones, and honestly, they all felt the same. There's like 2 short ranged ones. They felt the same. They were very shotgun like, and it's like.
You don't have any like grenades or anything to switch
No,
it
there
up?
was one that was an explosive, but like it still
No,
shot
but you're
straight.
not, like what I mean is like you can't like pick up like explosives
Yeah.
and gain like more weapons,
Yeah,
which
so
would have been cool.
the run was very stale. Like anytime you complete a section, yeah, you got to pick a buff, like any kind of roguelike, and you're kind of building your character in a way. Not really. So for me, this game was so easy. I didn't honestly. I tested this out too. I wouldn't pick my buffs anytime I beat a dungeon. I just kept mashing A. So it didn't. I did not know what I got because it did not matter. I could just burn through a dungeon, and it didn't matter what buffs I had or anything like that. So it was pointless.
Well, I think too, like the game also makes it easier. Like I felt like at first I had so much money and I couldn't spend it, and you need to unlock like 9 or 12 villagers. But once you do that, you can get runes that make it so that you gain health with the moats and the keystones. And you really don't even need to beat the bosses to get the villagers because you can just combine the different keys and then you have more villagers that you can save. So I also thought that like once that happened, the bosses were easier, everything was easier.
Yeah.
And so like I didn't get as far as you guys. I don't know if there's like a difficulty curve later on, but
Nope.
for me, like and then also Something that I brought up to Andrew when I was playing, because one time I was unlocking Keystone and I missed a guy. It was one of the few silent creatures, and
Silent but deadly.
and so he hit me when I was doing it. And so after that, every single time, if it was possible, I just went behind the Keystone.
Oh, it's a
and
clever tactic.
unlocked it. Yeah, and then so I could see people coming. So
It's a hot tip. I like it.
I also, just coming up with like the enemy thing that I said about how they were loud. You definitely have to play this with either headset or your volume up. And because especially like the scorpions, you can hear them coming from a mile away. I would hear them and then I wouldn't see them for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of hear it before you see it in this game, and you don't really see it for a while sometimes because sometimes they're locked behind a door, but you hear them the whole time, so that's always fun.
Yeah, there's also a reason for that. The AI is real dumb.
Yeah,
Real dumb. The AI does not jump. They don't climb. They don't jump down ledges. Their pathing is awful. Really bad. So it's very easy to outrun the AI, outsmart the AI. This is what makes me sad. Seeing the trailer for this game, it looked like it was going to be like a fun bullet hell game. Tons of bullets coming at you. I'm dodging all these bullets and everything. It's not the case. At most, you're fighting, I think the most I had number of demons in a dungeon was 26. That was it. And like that's what just disappointed me. I wanted this game to throw tons of demons at me and just like old school Doom or something like that where I'm running around blasting everything. That was not the case.
Yeah, I felt like sometimes the game was smooth and sometimes it wasn't. So like for instance, like when I was like fighting enemies and stuff, I'd be jumping around. I thought the jump was great because you could kind of lengthen it. But then I was also like sticking. And I was like, if somebody hit me something with goo, like that'd be one thing, but I felt like I kept sticking to walls and stuff. And then I also had to, like, if you're gonna not have a save feature, have it actually save when it's supposed to. Because I beat a boss and I actually went to the next level in the dungeon, and then I went back to play, and it was back at the boss. I had to redo the boss. That was so annoying.
Yeah,
After
the
you
save
come
was
back to
really
the village?
consistent.
Yeah.
That's
I went
weird.
back to the village.
Because I
and
never
it
had.
didn't save.
I never had to do that because it's actually. I think I'm pretty sure it saves every time you actually exit a room.
Yeah, I saw like the little thing going, like the little skull after the boss. I went back to the village, and then the next time I played it, I was like, I have to replay the boss.
Well, that's weird.
And then when I beat him, the villager wasn't there. So it kind of saved. It saved that I had already gotten the villager, and then it gave me 2 trunks instead of the villager and 1 trunk.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess you got a bonus stuff out of it, so there's that. But yeah, I did notice that weird, like, if you would fall gently enough off of a ledge, you'd kind of, like, slide down it in this weird slow motion. So I did have that happen. And so I will say, I wanted more weapons. I do agree that the weapons were boring. I thought it didn't make a big difference. You are also right about that. But I did like the way some of the skills worked, because they would do like additional support things to it. So like the curse spell, yes, it did like damage when they tried to attack you if they were cursed, but it could also have like a delayed explosion that they would do as well. So there was things that I thought made them interesting skills. I just think they would have been more interesting if you saw them in action more than just kind of running around blasting everything. So yeah, I agree. It could definitely have been better. This isn't the best thing I've ever played, but I think it's fun enough.
Andrew, I think like what you're doing is working, because I'm thinking more and more, and I'm just like, every time you'd get to like a keystone, there'd be 2 stationary guys shooting at you.
Yeah.
And there'd always be like a wall that you could hide behind and get one and then get the other. Well, not always, but a lot of the times. And yeah, I kind of just had like a method to everything. And you're right about the enemies. It's like, yeah, I knew exactly where they were going to spawn. I knew where they were going to come from. And yeah, I mean, I'm thinking more and more about it.
Sweet.
Well, so the funny thing is I, for whatever reason, I think probably I bet I did probably 7, 8 good runs, at least, where I kept using that Rune of Calamity, the one that you didn't even realize that was available. So
that's a dumb rune.
So you take double damage, but you get like double
no.
the most.
You don't take double damage. You take 200% more damage.
Oh, yeah.
That's 3 times more damage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So anyways,
Yeah.
so you take 300% more damage, and then you get like double the amount of the little boats that you pick up. So I thought that I was really going to need this currency. I was like, yeah, this is cool, whatever. And I was getting pretty far. So I felt like I was doing well. And as soon as I took that thing off, the game, I do agree, becomes very easy. And you can really just blast through the game. And I think that's why I kind of like it, is you can really just put a short amount of time into this game, and it's fun throughout it, as long as you don't like expect too much from it, like Andrew is.
That reminds me, with the moats, like I had the thing where you had the chance of, getting double luck, double whatever. I never got it. Right when I got that rune, after that, I actually looked because I was like waiting to get double. I never got double.
No, you got it every time you picked them up. It just wouldn't exactly tell you that you were doing double.
Yeah, it didn't really have a good system for that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
but
quality
still,
of life
like,
things I would like in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I may have gotten like 1 or 2 though, but it was never substantially more. So I felt like that was kind of a waste. I mean, you can upgrade them, but I was actually more. Oh, okay, never mind. I was thinking you got like double for like your run.
No.
Yeah,
that's why you were picking them up.
And it wouldn't be
No.
like at the end of it, if you had it happen like 4 times, it wouldn't add to the amount of motes you collected at the end. It would still be like you collected 7, but you might have actually gained 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was really
Okay.
hard to know exactly how much you got. There's, like I said, there's a lot of small things that this game could have added so many quality of life things. A little counter in the top of the corner that tells you how many enemies are left in a floor.
That'd be nice.
The amount of motes that are left to collect. These little things you can only find out when you finally get to the end of the Keystone level, and then it goes, oh, this is how many motes and this is how many enemies. And you're like, well, that would be cool. But also, it doesn't matter. Yes, it would be nice to have some of the extra motes, but if you miss 1 or 2, no big deal. There's no scoring system. Like, there's a timer. I wanted that. Like, give me like a B+ for how quickly I beat the level and I beat all of the enemies or something like that. No leaderboards, nothing.
I will say I did like that it told you when you got all the motes though, because for me,
Yeah.
like as long as that's there, I don't care how many motes. But the enemies, I mean, I think maybe they did that to also make it a bit more difficult because there's usually one sneaking around somewhere. But yeah, that would have been helpful too.
For me, though, at the end of the day, the money doesn't matter. I maxed out.
You got a Mitchie bug.
I know, and it will not leave me alone. I maxed out everything by halfway through the game. I had all the support runes bought. A majority of them were upgraded. The ones that I cared about were upgraded. Oh, nice, you got it. Stupid bug. But yeah, so for me, at the end of the day, the money didn't matter to me. And so I was literally just trying to figure out rooms that I knew I could complete the quickest. And, if you see my video on YouTube, I should have video of it out in this game. I at least got really good at clearing out the rooms. I could clear out a room usually in less than a minute.
Well, that's the sad part. Once you don't need the gold and you don't need the other currency, you can just focus on luck and refreshing the stuff to get what you want. So that doesn't become a challenge either.
And that's the
Because
thing. Like I said, there wasn't any upgrade I wanted. The game was so easy that I could just push A and keep going.
Yeah.
Which means you probably just max out your left trigger all the time.
Yeah, because I actually did not realize that's how it actually was tiered.
What do you mean?
So it was
The
always
top one's always about your left hand.
yeah,
The middle
middle
one's always about your right hand, and then the bottom one's always about a defense. Yeah, I didn't realize that until when I completed a run, and I noticed my left hand literally had 10 things on it, and I was like, oh, whoops.
It's just dangerous with the left hook.
But Liz, I wanted to ask you though, as our resident noob, what did you think of the tutorial of this game? Do you think it explained enough?
Oh, I'm trying to think back.
The answer is no.
Because I think I
Okay.
remember, I remember being frustrated that there wasn't oh yes, I was. Because I was looking at the doors and I was like, I don't know what these mean. I don't know what they are. So I just picked randomly, and then Andrew eventually said, oh, hit X. And I was like, oh.
Which opened up the
you have
menu,
all these,
because
like-
X
yeah.
opens the menu.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that. Because I actually tried the normal buttons for a menu,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. I was like, I guess there's not a menu. Nope, there is. And then so I learned what they are. But then it still doesn't tell you what the villager symbol is. There's a couple random ones that aren't there, that they don't describe. But of course, when a random one came up, I would pick it because I'm like, I don't know what you are. Let's try it. But yeah, there really needed to be just a 2-minute intro, a 2-minute tutorial.
So there's probably one of the weirdest mechanics I've ever seen in a roguelite in this game, and I don't really understand why it exists. So every time you complete the 4 rooms and you have the option of going to the next floor, it stops you. It's like, hey, wait, do you really want to dive deeper into the pit? Or you can just go back to the village and save everything you have. As soon as you go to the next floor, you keep saving throughout it. There's no benefit in going back to the village.
Yeah, there's
Like,
no punishment if you die, so it's like, just keep going.
The worst thing you lose is what you had gained within that room itself. It saves,
yeah,
otherwise
which is like
after-
2 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, like, no big deal. There's no reason to panic and go back. So don't ever do it. Like, I tried once or twice to see if there was some reason that I should. There isn't. It's just
maybe it's because if you get to, the amount of villagers that you want to upgrade runes and stuff, which that doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, just finish it and beat the boss and then do that.
Yeah,
Because then you have to revisit.
But I mean, what was also super annoying is that I thought that I had finished all 4 rooms. It only happened to me once. I learned from my mistake. I thought I was done. I went in and then immediately hit A because I
did that once
dive
too.
deeper. Yes, and then I was like, wait, what just happened? Why am I back at the village? And Andrew was like, well, you must not have finished the rooms. It's like, I feel like because nobody would ever go back to the village, have a little thing be like, are you sure?
yes, I did that once, and I was
For idiots
not
like
happy.
myself, I need that.
Because I did it once too.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in this. We all did the same thing.
It's a weird thing.
And yeah, and it stinks because, if you return to the village, you have to redo the run. There is 3 villagers in each dungeon run, and there's a total of 45 villagers. So you're playing 15 different dungeons, and it gets old very quick.
Oh,
And so, if you have to go back, you just have to do that run again because you want to get all the villagers.
yeah, that is weird. One thing, but the other thing that I was thinking of is it also has one of the most bizarre tooltips, because it's like, talk to the pit master. He'll tell you everything you need to know about runes and the story and everything. He tells you one thing. He's like, I already told you what you need to know. Go get the villagers out of the pit. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So what? He tells me nothing? But he's supposed to be the most important person in this entire game. He's not. He tells you nothing.
Also, I like that people won't help you until you have a certain amount of villagers rescued. It's like, he's willing to go down into the pit and you're hiding behind a door. Maybe just help the guy. I think that's kind of dumb.
I know,
I'd be
their
like, go into
excuse
the
is
pit yourself then.
I know, the
maybe
excuse story's like, my store is dirty. I need people to clean it. And it's just like, get over yourself,
This
man.
is like such a thing with me where I hate when you have like these lazy characters like, do this for me. And they're like super, it's like, you can say please and you can help me.
And then you have to pay them. Like, all right, look,
Yeah.
I got you villagers so that now you have business. That's like, I feel like that was some of them. They're like, well, if I'm not going to open up my shop if there's no one to actually shop. Well, now you've got your business. Now you've got your money. Don't make me be the only one who's actually spending money here. I don't see any of these villagers I saved walking around spending money.
Yeah, I know. I hated that. You never had a visual of the progression. The village always looked like a dump. You don't see people walking around. Like, the beginning of the game looks like the end of the game. And it was just like, this is lame.
Speaking of visuals,
Wow.
I mean,
Speaking of visuals, let's get into the visuals.
So the visuals are definitely the one thing about this game that I struggle with, because right away it just drops you into this village, and I thought my TV was broken. I
Same
didn't
here.
know
Like
how or why.
oversaturated? Is that how you would describe it?
little
It's
bit, yeah.
something. It was. I didn't know what
I
it was, but
kinda
all of a
liked
sudden my
it.
TV would. Oh, okay.
In a weird way. It's not like I was like, wow, these graphics are great, but there was something about it that I like the dark and gloominess, but
I'm not
It's
even
unique.
talking.
I'll give it
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm not even
It's
talking about
unique.
the graphics either. It's the colors. There's
Yeah.
just something so off-putting about the way the green is overlaid, just slightly hued over. I didn't know. I was very confused. And once you get into the actual gameplay in the pit, it's not great, but it's not this like almost vomit-inducing haze. It's just
yeah, no, you
it's-
described it. That's how to me this game looks like someone vomited pixels. It's very off-putting.
It's not as bad in the actual gameplay, but the village,
Yes.
my gosh, oh, it's terrible.
and then also like the the first guy that you meet, he's like, oh, talk to me when whatever. And then I was running and just like ran right into his face, and it did not look nice. And same with like when you're knocking on the doors. I feel like they could have done a bit more, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the enemy models and everything, but like looking at the villagers, I was just like,
yeah.
I just
What's
wish
with
there
the
was a bit more.
villagers like pictures? They all had
Yeah.
portraits, and they were all like hideous and terrifying. Like the villagers looked like these like elongated clowns. It's like the way I could describe them. They're really grotesque looking. This is what I mean. Is your character human? Are these people human? Like I figured you were a golem just looking at your hands.
I don't know. I just figured you were a magical person, and so you just had magical hands.
What did you think of the enemy models? Because that was very different. I felt like the actual gameplay when you're fighting in the dungeons was very different. Well, not the enemies were different.
No. You got rats, you got zombies, you got mushrooms.
You got traps. Some are poison. Some are. I thought like the delay with the traps was kind of silly too. It's like I wanted that like.
All traps function the same.
Yeah, because like for me, there's some areas that are kind of tight, and you know the enemies are going to spawn. And you know that you can just run back because you have that 3-second window. Make it a little bit more difficult. Make it so that the trap will go off if you go back or something. I don't know. I just thought like the traps were kind of silly to have.
No, I mean, they were mostly there just to catch you off guard. And quite frankly, I don't feel like they did too frequently. Like most games, traps are my nightmare. I actually didn't have too much problem with any of these traps. Now that I think
Nope,
about it.
because they all function the same.
I fell in the poison a handful of times, and that was kind of annoying because I would forget which button was the jump button. And then,
yeah, it's Y. Like, why is it Y?
Yeah.
Like, why not A? Which I will say real quick, you can map your controller, so you can change the buttons.
Okay, that's not bad. I didn't, but yeah, I also did not know you could jump for like a while.
Yep.
Until I finally looked at the controller layout because I fell in the poison and I just died the first, I don't know, 2 times, I think. I was just like, well, I guess this
Like,
is
this is my life now.
Yeah, basically.
The first time I went into the poison, I didn't know what was happening. And then Andrew said, you have to jump out. And I was like, how? Again, no tutorial. So yeah, that was really frustrating at the beginning.
I knew what Keith was going to say there. But yeah, the enemy models I didn't care for. And like, it would, like I said, it would be more interesting if the enemies just did something unique. There's one enemy that is slightly different. There's a big enemy that has a shield. He actually has some sort of mechanic. So you have to like find a way to kind of shoot past his shield. But he's the only one, and you don't see him that often.
And you know how you do that? You just stand there and you just stand there and you look at him until he attacks you, and then you just blast him like twice because he opens his shield up. So
it's not very hard.
Yeah, he's not, but it is cool.
I will say the bosses at the end of the dungeons, they at least looked kind of cool. They at least had some cool models. They weren't fun fights. They were also very boring. You just circle at enemy and shoot them.
Yeah, at least the first couple, they just like spawned enemies, shot at you, and that was it.
That's honestly what they
really
all
special.
do. There's one of them that was slightly interesting. I think it's in the catacombs.
Is it the one that there's 2?
Yes. That's the only one that was slightly interesting, a little more difficult, but very slightly.
I'm not gonna I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I also feel like this game would have been good with like having bullets, like actually having ammo to like find more stuff, make it more challenging.
I can't believe you're saying that.
I know. But for me, like even I found it was just like find the moats, kill the enemies, and like the moats are really easy to find. You don't even need like a little mini map or anything. Every once in a while I'd miss one, but like a quick little loop around the small map. But yeah, for me it was just like I'm just collecting moats. I want to do something else, you know?
Yeah. Like this game, it just gets so repetitive. Like I said, okay, for me to pull back at being so negative, as I said at the beginning, the nice thing about this game is that it's quick and easy. It is something you were able to just sit down and do. It was unfortunate you have to do over 15 dungeons. You know, that kind of got a little frustrating. I was kind of getting bored of that. Because like, as we're talking about the visuals, even when you're going to the catacombs, the petrified forest, you know, the docks, honestly, they looked the same. They had the same layout. The wallpaper slightly changed, but the mechanics of the actual dungeon did not change. And even when you get to the final one, which is called like the Abyss Nightmare or something like that, it was like, you cannot combine this one. It's so powerful and dangerous. It wasn't. And the layout is just like a village, but you're still doing the same dungeons. And I was just like, this is so anticlimactic.
There's more demon-like creatures there.
No, there were reskins. It was the same monsters.
They were demon-like.
I don't know. I think that the docks or the bog or whatever it's called was a lot different than like the fungal one.
That was the only one I noticed. I think the most was the dock.
Yeah, I think those two together, like I think that they looked very different, but
very minor. Not enough for me.
I feel like if this is like somebody's first time listening to the podcast, I should say Andrew isn't usually like, this is so easy. I feel like you're coming across as like, you might be coming across as a little arrogant, but you don't usually do this. Like, you're a hardcore gamer, but I just wanted to point out the fact that you don't usually say like, this is so easy. Like, this game for a hardcore gamer, and this is something I read online as well, there isn't a lot of challenge if you're like a super hardcore gamer and you're really good at games.
Yeah, guess how many times I died?
3.
1.
You were right. I died once. I only died once the entire game. And that was the very first run I did. And it's because I didn't play support runes, because the game didn't explain the support runes. So I was like, I don't know what I'm putting here to activate the pit. Like, are these going to make it more difficult? Can I only use these once? Like, what is this? The guy who just said, put the runes and the keys in. And I'm like, well, what am I doing? I don't get this. So I didn't play any support runes. I just activated the pit and jumped in.
Well, the further you get to, you can actually have more runes to use. Like, so you go from like 4 and then you can...
6.
6, yeah. And so it does just get like easier and easier and easier. Those runes, like once you get the ones that you gain health, like it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it becomes so easy once you have those.
But Liz, you were talking about that you recommend playing this game with headphones. I don't know if I agree with that. Specifically,
because I felt like the music was a bit loud.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes, the music got very loud.
If you want to hear the scorpions and stuff, like for me, I wanted it up enough that I could like hear like somebody sneaking, but I also like didn't want to subject anybody else to it. And also like some of the enemies are really annoying sounding, like really annoying.
Yeah. But the music, I will say, the soundtrack of the game overall is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of Doom, a little bit of Tron, a little bit of Stranger Things. So I thought the soundtrack overall is good. But yeah, the music fades in the background when you're kind of walking around. But as soon as enemy appears, it cranks up to 11. And like it's like blasting my ears. And I'm like, oh, I'm enjoying this music. Then I'm fighting it. It's like, brr, brr, brr. And I'm like, okay, no, I don't like this anymore.
It's just trying to be intense, Andrew.
Being loud isn't what makes it intense.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
I said that when I was first playing it, where I was like, this kind of feels like Doom, with like you're kind of like low to the background. It definitely felt like that, and I think with the music too. I think so. Not that I've played a ton of Doom, but I played a couple of the Doom games.
Yeah, I liked the music. I thought it fit. It felt right. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, this is a game that has. Well, this is what's weird. There's no voice acting except for the bad guy. Like I said, every time you beat a dungeon, he appears over the doorway and just, not even talking, it's like this weird whisper language.
I think he did a good job.
Good job, Whisper Man.
Yeah.
I just thought it was odd. It's just odd that there really isn't any dialogue just for this random guy who just pops in every time you beat a boss trying to like intimidate you. Which, by the way, very easy final boss. He was not hard at all.
Do you have to kill him like twice?
Yeah, but you do the same thing. You circle him and keep shooting him. And then you win. There you go.
Yeah.
Into the pit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
I just remembered I had a weird hatred for one of the enemies that had like the glowing ball. It was just a walking guy. There's so many enemies that were harder than him, but there was something about him that just like really irritated me.
Oh, some of these monsters too, honestly looked like they were straight up from Stranger Things. Like there was a couple monsters that looked like the Demogorgon. And even that guy I think you were talking about, like I've seen him before. So I felt like this game kind of copied monster models.
Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. I don't know.
Surprisingly, there's no slimes in this game.
Yeah, there are.
No, you didn't fight slimes.
No, there's like this like bulbous like green thing and you shoot it and slime comes out.
Oh, those were eggs.
Yeah.
They were slithering.
Yeah,
they're like slugs.
Yeah, like slugs.
Yeah, they come slugs, not slimes.
Wait, what'd you say?
Slimes.
Oh, sorry. I thought you.
I was
I
saying, like,
thought you said slugs. I'm sorry.
Eh,
Their slugs are slimy.
How many
I mean-
other games have slugs that like I don't know. No slugs. Or there
I
are
could
slugs.
think of
no slimes.
some if you gave me time, but I don't care to. Like those are a thing. But no, like yeah, like like I said, you got your zombies, you got your your spiders, you got your mushrooms.
Like
Yeah.
Slay the Spire had a ton of different slimes. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, that was one model they did not take with slimes.
Oh, and another thing
Ah.
that you must hate, the achievements. I got at least one, but I looked at them and I was like, this sucks.
No, I did not hate the achievements.
Wait, is it like you have to get like everything?
No, okay. So I would recommend this game for achievement hunters because there are 10 achievements. So every achievement is worth 100 points, which is pretty sweet. The negative is, though, you're only really getting these achievements till you're basically near the end of the game. But like I said, not a very long game. You're looking at about 8.5 hours. I did it in 9.
Well, it's different to like recommend it for achievement hunters, but to say like you actually like the achievement. Like, did you think they were fun?
No, the achievements were not fun.
No.
All right, because as I said before, there's one that's kind of annoying, getting all the journals, in which for me was a little more difficult because you wouldn't always get a journal room. You would have to replay dungeons because if you're first playing a dungeon, you're just getting villager rooms, but not journal rooms. So the game expects you to be dying and revisiting dungeons to get these journals. So I beat the game and I only had like 15 of the 30-something journals. And I was like, well, this sucks. So I had to like keep going back and farming to get these stupid journals. But as far as the other achievements go, there's only one that you actually have to try for, and that's to activate the cheat death ability 3 times during a run, which is not hard to do. But all the other ones are, completing a dungeon, completing 6 dungeons, then completing 15 dungeons, collecting half the villagers, then collecting all the villagers. This is surprisingly not even an achievement to beat the game. You don't even have to beat the game to get all the achievements. So I've gotten all the achievements except for collecting all the journals. And I don't know if I care to do it. I know it's worth 100 points. And I'm like, it just will take me a few minutes, but
It'll take you
I
more
don't
than
know.
a few minutes, depending on how many you have.
You sound done, Andrew. To be frank.
I am done. And like I said, I apologize. This game really isn't that bad. When you're first playing it, I was having fun. But then it just, after a while, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of
The
getting
fact
bored
that
with
you
this.
always say game to every game and you are just so against this game, I feel like you definitely.
He's got
Yeah,
issues.
I thought I had to keep it interesting. I knew you guys were all like, yeah, Into the Pit's a lot of fun. And I'm like, it was, for the first like 2 hours. Now it's like the
I
same
just love
thing.
the jump scares.
This is like your horror game of the year. I was like talking to people online, and everyone's like, "What is going on in the background?" And Liz is just screaming her head off.
I was screaming.
Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. Out, you were just like, because when Liz gets scared, she's like, I don't know, the typical noob. Like she flings her whole body backwards and is like mashing her controller.
I found myself like when I was like backing away to get away from enemies, like my body
Yeah.
would move. It was so dorky.
You're one of those people that lean when you play a racing game because it
Yep.
helps you turn better.
Yep,
Well,
that's
I mean,
me.
that's a fact. That's a scientific fact.
It's when I got too relaxed because, like you said, like you get used to the setup and everything, and then every once in a while there would be a quiet enemy, like shocking, but there would be, and I wouldn't know that they were there, and it would scare the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, when the enemies hit, they hit hard.
Yeah,
Like you normally have like 100 health, usually about like 125 if you use like some of the perks. But one hit from an enemy is a good like 15 health. Like they chunk you pretty bad. So like you can go down really quick.
well, the melee guys, they hit the hardest.
The bitey
and so-
boys.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I will say, as I said, the gameplay overall I thought was fun. If this game had more to it, like a survival mode or a horde mode or a co-op mode, where the dungeons were just slightly more interesting, I would have been more for this game. I thought the actual gameplay and gunplay of the game was solid.
I would love co-op with this. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah, you actually
You've got
mentioned
nothing.
that. We should get into our final thoughts here, right?
I mean, I thought that's where we were going. Honestly, I thought you were wrapping up.
Keith, why don't you start? Did I persuade you at all?
No,
Was Into the Pit just, the pits?
no, you didn't like because I don't think you're wrong on any of your complaints or things you don't like about it. they're all valid things. There's nothing about this that I give high praises to. I think it's, if you're someone like me, if you just enjoy roguelikes, but you don't want one that's going to take 40 to 50 hours of your time, I think it's really fun. And I think it's something different enough that, and it doesn't really command enough of your time that it felt dragged out, at least not for me. And it's funny because I actually did die way more than you did. I don't know how many times, but I did die.
More than one.
Yeah, more than once. So like I did, but as much as I can see where it got repetitive, it never felt too grating on me until I actually did beat the last pit. And then I was like, yeah, this is really kind of dumb. And you had already told me what it was. All in all, I doubt I'll really ever go back and play it. I've played my time of it. And
wait, so you beat it?
I beat that final dungeon, but it doesn't like you just have to unlock it once you get 30 villagers, because I think I got like 31 total.
Oh, so you haven't gotten you haven't played the final dungeon?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
you unlock that final key when you get 30 villagers, which I did.
Yeah,
and then I beat that. And then,
okay.
And then
so you just didn't get all the villagers? Okay.
Yeah, that's all. I just didn't. That's the only thing I didn't do with this game. So I doubt I'll go back and play it. But if you're just looking for something different enough to check out, I think it's worth playing. And I think it's actually pretty fun. But I give it like a 79.
Oh, I still have to let's go first, but I forgot.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't go at all till after. Into the Pit. So I've said quite a bit about this game. Like I said, I'll at least start off with what I thought was good. The visuals, although not for me, are unique. I will give the game for that. It is unique. It started to get me a little nauseous, but it's unique. The music, the soundtrack, I thought was pretty good. It's very loud, but it's pretty good. I enjoyed the music. The gunplay, as I said, is fun. And that's just about where I end. I thought the environments were boring. The story was really boring. The achievements were okay at best. The guns weren't great, which I forgot to mention real quick with the guns. You have options to get long-range guns. Never get the long range because the enemies have shields when they're at a certain distance. So it completely makes the long-range guns completely pointless. Like, why would I get a sniper-type spell when I can't even hit the enemies? It's dumb. So the weapons, didn't care for. This game it overstayed its welcome, even though it's not a long game. Like I said, I beat it in like 8 or 9 hours, but I was still just done with it. It's a weekend game. If you are looking to play, as Keith said, a roguelike, and you don't want to invest a ton of time, you can pick this up and just have fun with it. But for me, I was done with it. I'm giving it a 50.
Jeez.
Whoa.
Andrew,
like I
said,
bomb. I know. Like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be harsh on this game. Honestly, the big issue is probably just because we played it within a week. Maybe I stretched it out. No, I'm taking that back. I still don't think I would like it. I thought the enemies were dumb. The gameplay just got so tedious.
Wow. I think you talked me down a lot. I think,
Ooh.
I think I'm going to give it maybe a 73.
Oh, what was you thinking? What were you originally thinking?
I started this episode with an 80, and then it went down to 78, and then 75, and then I think I'm gonna give it a 73.
I mean, I talked myself down. I was originally planning on like a 70, but then like as I'm going through things, I'm like, what did I really love at the end of this game?
See, I did like the graphics more than you did, not the village. But I did enjoy the gameplay a lot. I just got to the point where I'm kind of sick of it just being super repetitive. I feel like for the where I am now to the beginning, I enjoyed it. I think if I play any more, I'm not gonna like it as much. But looking at Metacritic, not a lot of reviews, just for Xbox One right now, 74 and 5.8. And
dang, so I am extra harsh.
No, well, somebody gave it one of the.
Andrew's just mad because it doesn't have a translation for French.
No, there's no dog buttholes.
One of the users gave it a 5, and the other one gave it a 0. The one who gave it a 0 is because they got a game-breaking bug, which this game is a little. It is a little buggy, I think.
Yeah, don't touch the walls. You get
Yeah.
stuck on walls, and honestly, I could see between the walls. I'm pretty sure you can fall through the map.
Yeah, no, I got stuck like in a wall, and then but I ended up fixing itself. My game crashed a ton. Like that doesn't usually happen when I
I
game.
don't think mine did.
You said it did. The first time it happened
yes,
to
it did.
me.
Yeah, you're right.
But overall, most of the complaints were that they wanted more of a challenge from the game. So, I don't think you're too far off. I think we're all there.
Like, if the game at least made the boss fights slightly more interesting and unique, I think I would have
Yeah.
loved this game a lot more, because I would have been more compelled to play these dungeons, even though it's the same enemies and stuff like that. But I was like, if I at least knew at the end there was be a cool boss fight, then I probably would have been more inclined. But no. This game gets what it deserves.
Dang.
This is one of your worst ratings for game.
I
How many
know.
games have we done?
Oof, I don't know. We've done this for over 2 years. We've done a lot. But,
Wow.
yeah. So if you love this game, I do apologize. I don't mean to bash on this game. It was not for me.
I don't think there's a lot of Into the Pit fanboys out there. Or
Pitheads.
fangirls. Yeah, pitheads, I think, is probably the proper term.
Yeah. Probably not. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you have a game recommendation, please, love to hear it. You can email us at gamepassgrabbag@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook at Game Pass Grab Bag, where we will be posting pictures of the games that we're playing. We would love to hear your reviews, and we'll read them here on the podcast. Yeah, since this was a newer game, I didn't get any listener reviews on this game either. But we're also on Twitter at GBGBpod. And there's another little fly flying around me. So, Liz, Keith, why don't you take over?
I don't. I'm just watching you try and hit this fly. It's entertaining. Good night.
And I'm Liz the Noob. Gamertag, come on, I'm Dean. I'm on Twitter at Liz Noob. Noob is EW.
Keith, I feel like I sucked the energy out of you this episode. You had did I just really hurt your feelings?
No, because again, I was not like super in love with this game. I just thought it was fun enough because I really enjoy roguelikes. That's like where it's hard to destroy it for me. I don't
I feel like I insulted your child now, and you're upset.
know. No, I'm sure you'll do that when he's born. So.
Jeez. Anyway, we love you all. We hope to see you again next week.
Bye, guys.
Please come back.
Bye.